What's up everyone, Busyless here, and welcome to my channel, which is all about music production, sound design, Ableton Live, and all things related. And you know what? I was thinking about starting a new series, and let's call the series BAM. Which is short for Become Ableton Master. And the idea is simple. We will learn about all the tiny little tools that are inside Ableton, all the effects, all the instruments, and everything else around Ableton. We will know all the tiny little concepts and bits of pieces, and therefore, if you know more tools, you can put them into your toolbox, and while creating music, it will unleash and open your creativity, because you will not struggle anymore with not knowing how things work. You just basically sit and be like, yeah, actually, I know how this works, because that guy on YouTube one day, he told me about all of it. So let's go. So in today's video, we're going to be talking about a drum bus. What is a drum bus? Well, in the music production world, it is a common term for like auxiliary return track for all the different drum tracks mixed together. So if you have kick drum, you have the snare drum, we have some cymbals, hi-hats, toms and everything, they will go all into one kind of lane, one track to be later processed. So compressed, EQ'd, and let's do some transient shaping or whatever you need for your song, for a track to sound really good. Now, that's not what we're actually going to be talking about, but quite a similar stuff. So we're talking about the drum bus, an effect that is inside Ableton, which will allow us to process all the drums. Because drum bus, it's an analog style processor for drums. That's what they call, like, that can add some body and character to your drums, make them sound cohesive, and then glue them together. So there's like one living, beating organism. Yeah. Okay, so we will be talking about each and individual knob inside the drum bus, and you will know exactly how does it work, what does it do, and later on, thanks to that knowledge, you will be able to use it in a wisely manner. So just, you know what you're doing with it. Okay, so let's not waste any more time. Let's jump into the Ableton and let's start kicking with the kick drum, obviously. Let's go. Okay, so first things first, we have this little drum loop. Let's listen to it now. Okay, so it has kick, it has snare, it has hi-hats, it has some toms. That's basically it. So what we want to do, we want to create this drum bus group. So like to group them together. So let's click on the first one, let's click on the last one, and let's press Ctrl G or Command G to group. And now we have this group. We can rename it. Let's press Ctrl or Command R, and let's call it our drums. Okay, now this track, you see, it's empty, it doesn't have any effects here, so we want to find the drum bus. It's already here, but let's find it again. It is in Audio Effects, Drive and Color, Drum Bus. Let's drag it over here, then we have it. What I usually like to do is to put some limiter at the end, so just for your safety and for safety of your ears and equipment, you probably want to have a limiter at the end of the master anyway. So let's find it. It is in Dynamics, limiter. Yeah, -1 is absolutely fine. Let's leave it as it is just for safety. So we have the drum bus. Okay, does it do anything to the sound? Let's switch it off. Listen to the sound now. Yes, it does. It actually clips on the limiter a little bit. We sometimes want to see what it actually do. So I have a couple of tools. First of which will be a spectrum. So let's find the spectrum. So we can see the frequency spectrum of what is happening actually. Let's put it after the limiter, and it looks like that. And then we can also find the plugin, which I've downloaded for free, called Wave Observer. And it looks like this. And once we have it all in place, we can basically see how does the waveforms look like. So let's listen to it now. So first things first, what does the drum bus consist of? So it has like 4 sections, 4 main sections. First is like a amp or input section. Then we have this middle section, which is basically a mid-high frequency section. And then we also have this low end section. And at the end, we have the output. So let's talk in detail about all these elements here. So first things first, we have the trim. The signal goes into the drum bus, hits the trim, so we can cut the signal a little bit, so we can take off if we don't want the signal to be too hot. Then it gets to the compressor. compressor is a fixed compressor, really optimized for compressing drums, and it has really fast attack, it has some medium release, moderate ratio, and it has quite a high of the makeup gain. So if we press it, you're gonna hear the difference straight away. So before we start doing anything, let's hit the output a little bit lower. Let's say -6 decibels. Around that will be fine. So let's listen to it without the compressor and with the compressor. It makes it a bit louder. We can zoom it a little bit here. Okay, cool. Makes them glue together. And then also we are hitting the drive section, so the distortion section. So we have 3 models of distortion. Soft is basically like a wave shaping distortion. Medium is a limiting distortion, and hard is a clipping distortion with some bass boost. So it boosts some lower frequencies. Let's listen to all of them now. Let's listen to the soft, and we can have a look on the spectrum here. We might see some buildups of different frequencies. So this is soft. This is medium. And this is hard, the most noticeable. Then of course we can drive more signal to it. If we feel like it's not enough, we can drive it more with this little knob here. That's basically what it does. It will amplify the signal going into the distortion. So let's try it with soft. We start seeing how it clips the signal here on the top of the line here. It doesn't allow it to be louder or the peak higher, but it kind of cuts it a little bit. Let's see the medium one, and let's drive it quite a lot. Also limiting distortion. We see quite a lot of the high frequencies build up, but it doesn't allow it to peak any higher. Now the hard distortion, we hear the bass boost straight away. And we can push it really hard. It makes it really thick, especially you see the low frequencies, like the low audio frequency, because it's compressed. But then we still have the line here, which is not exceeding the peak limit. Okay, leave it on soft for now. And we can talk about the next stage. Next stage will be the medium to high frequency modulator or processing. So first things first, we have the crunch. Crunch is basically a distortion, another type of distortion for just the mids and highs. So let's see what it does. Let's focus on only the hi-hats and toms and snares. Let's listen to it now. Without it and with it. It makes all the medium to high frequencies a little bit more prominent. It adds harmonics to the sound. And then we also have a damp. Damp, it is a low pass filter. So we will decide how much frequencies we want to let through, and it will cut everything what's above this level. So if we start with 20 kilohertz, it will basically let through all of the signal. So let's listen to it now. Now it's letting through all of the signal, and once you go down, it cuts everything above 500 hertz. But let's leave it on the default. Now we have the transients. This is really important. It is a transient shaper, but it doesn't work like you would probably think it does. So what does it do? It changes the attack ratio, so makes the drums attack snappier and really faster and punchy a little bit more. But it doesn't matter which way we go. We go on minus, we go on plus, it will add the attack, make it more heavy. But why we go minus, why we go plus? So it is about the rest of the signal, so the body of the kick or body of the drums. So if you go on plus, it will add the body, add the sustain, so we hear the longer notes. That will be really visible in the wave observer in just a moment. And once you go on the minus values, it will basically cut and make it much more tighter. So you will not hear all the other body of the kick, body of the snare. So we'll just hear transients, and that's it. Let's listen to it now. Let's reset it to 0. We're going to go to the plus side now. Okay, so we hear loads of the high frequencies as well added. Then we also hear this background noise kind of much more prominent. Now let's go to the minus. It's like it's cutting all the reverb out, so we can't hear all the body. We just hear the transient. Very snappy, very like kind of short. So the difference is huge. So remember, regardless if you go in minus or plus, you're adding the attack, but you're changing the sustain. So if you're going to minus, you're going to cut the sustain. If you're going to plus, you're going to add more sustain. That's it. So now we go into the next section, which is a low-end enhancement section, which consists of the boom, which is like resonant filter with a frequency control and also a decay. So we can control how much of the low end we have. Now we will be using this bass dial here, or the bass meter, so we can see how much bass are we adding. So what does the boom do? It resonates more low-end frequencies. Which frequencies? The ones frequencies that you can see here. If it's 50 Hertz, we will add more 50 Hertz. And if we want to tune the drums to the sound or to the music, to the tone, to the key signature, we will probably know which are the key signature or fundamental sound in our bass. And we want to tune the kick drum to it. And we also want to tune this. So if we change the frequencies, we're going to see these notes here slightly changing. So we are on F sharp now, we're E0, we are D sharp, D, and so on and so on. So we can tune this, let's say, to F sharp. If let's say our kick drum is in F sharp, we can actually hear that. And then we can press the button, it's going to drop to the nearest frequency of the F. Just F, not F sharp. And let's add the boom. Let's listen to what it does now. Oh, we can see on the wave observer how does it work. Like we have loads of bass, this is distorted bass, and we have the frequency. Let's change the frequency now. You're probably going to need some headphones to hear all of it. So that's basically what it does. We can just literally change it to the nearest frequency here. And we can play how much of the boom sound we want. And if we want to look closely to what it does to the bass, we have this little headphone, little switch. So if we switch it on, we'll see only the bass content that is going through this section. So let's listen to it now. Okay, now we can clearly hear what we're doing. And if you want to change this a little bit more further, we have this decay slider. Decay will basically work as a decay control. So if you're going to go towards 0, it's going to shorten the decay time. So let's try it now. So it is very useful because we can add the boom. We can change the frequency, but we don't necessarily want to have the decay really long like that. We maybe want to add it just a tiny bit. So that is very useful, and we can only see that on the bass slider, bass meter. See, it's not going that far. If we go here, it's really popping up almost above the top level line. Okay, but let's listen to it now all. Okay. Then, apart from that, we only have the output section, which is basically gain level, and then dry wet, which will be able to do like a parallel processing. So let's listen to it now. So we can scale the effect from 0 to have even more control of the sound or the drums. So let's try to do something else. These were like electronic drums. I prepared another samples here, which are more like a natural. I use the free SSD drums plugin. Oh, and by the way, don't forget to hit the like button. That really helps the algorithm to push this video to more music producers like you that might be looking for really awesome content and are learning Ableton, because we're all learning and we all want to become Ableton masters. Let's listen to it now. You have the drum bass here already on. And let's play with the sound. Let's change the drive. Let's add a little bit more of the boom. Let's play with the transients. Really interesting how one slider can change everything. Let's change the output here a little bit, and let's glue them together with a compressor. You see how the graph changes, like much more compressed now. You can see how the body changes when I play with the sliders here. So the soft one sounds much more natural in terms of the kind of natural sounding drums. And then you can do basically whatever you like with the drums. It is actually really, really cool. Okay, so now we know how it works, but you might be thinking like, okay, well, I need the good samples and I need like a nice kick drum samples that I looked for thousands of different samples and I couldn't find the one that really works for me and for my track. Well, if you have Ableton Drift synthesizer, you can make your own kick drum samples. It is really so simple. And if you don't know how, I made a video, a tutorial, after watching which you can be able to create your own kick drum factory and create thousands or hundreds of thousands of different kick drum sounds within minutes. Okay, watch this video next, and thanks so much for watching, and see you guys in the next video. Cheers!